Itarzi od Oma, peace and understanding. I am Andromeda, an extraterrestrial from a civilization in the Andromeda galaxy. Since your leaders and governments do not seem to wish to disclose the reality of UFOs and extraterrestrials to the people of Earth, I am engaging in a sort of rogue or wild card disclosure. I have been given all the required authority to act in a diplomatic capacity. On behalf of the people of the 17 Houses of Andromeda, I extend my hand in greetings. We welcome you to the stellar community. Your tenacity, innovation, and thirst for knowledge have served you well. You have earned your place in the stars. While you still have some issues, they are nothing that has not been experienced by any and all of us who compose the stellar community. We have full faith that you will overcome all your issues just as we have and continue to work toward. The 17 Houses of Andromeda. Our name represents the 17 member species of our micro-society. While within our domain there are many more than 17 species, these 17 are those who are spacefaring. The other species, whether advanced or not, sentient or not, are under the protection of these 17 member species. In our work to protect these developing species and worlds, we absolutely never interfere in the natural development. Of our dominant species, 11 are human, 2 are canine, 2 are feline, 1 is reptilian, and another is a bird species. It should be noted that this is what our ancestors were. Most of us have evolved over time to be nearly indistinguishable from humans. My species has been evolving for some 235 million years, and while we appear human, we began as an animal much like your wolf. I was brought here in April 1947 and was exchanged for a stillborn infant just moments after my own birth. This exchange was done with the approval, permission, and commitment of the United States of America. Over the past 65 years, I have been sort of protected from serious possible danger by operatives of the U.S. government. This task has now been handed off to Homeland Security, who don't seem to respect diplomatic relations and agreements founded only 65 years ago by duly elected officials of your government. Indeed, it seems that many of the people and most of the elected officials have lost an understanding and respect for the work done by the founders of this country. They wish to discard the very precepts and foundations that built the United States of America and set the human species back yet another 1,000 years. Further, they wish to do this in an insidious manner, a covert operation to rob the people of their most valuable possession, their rights as living sentient beings. Currently in operations near Earth, at distances greater than 100,000 kilometers, are 6 Andromedan starships. These ships are the escort for our culture's alpha female, my mother. They have been seen from time to time in images from the Soho craft or from the space station. These ships are quite large. Our flagship, home away from home for D'Arneshat, my biological mother. It also contains scientific research facilities, diplomatic offices, as well as command and control for the fleet. Its length is 1,030 meters, its width 1,000 meters, its height 250 meters. The propulsion system is two-part. The primary is a gravido electromagnetic field drive, the secondary a long-distance, medium-duration wormhole generator. For defense, there are 4 multi-beam directed energy emitter arrays, 32 starfighters, our atmosphere-capable combat vehicle, the Dragon Strike, and a shielding system. The starship is powered by a zero-point energy pump. Of the people on this ship, there are 2,500 science, engineering, medical, and operations staff, 1,500 military personnel, pilots, marines, and security, 100 diplomatic mission personnel, for a total population of 4,100 people. Our flavor of your aircraft carrier. This ship is intended to provide deep space ACCV atmosphere capable combat vehicle support. It can also provide planetary operational support via a variety of shuttlecraft. Our carrier is 2.5 kilometers in length, 2 kilometers in width, and 500 meters in height. Its propulsion system, like our command ship, is a gravido electromagnetic field drive and a long-distance, medium-duration wormhole generator. Defense consists of 128 active ACCVs, 16 large shuttles, 16 small shuttles, 10 multi-beam directed energy emitter arrays, and a shielding system. It is powered by a zero-point energy pump. The crew is 300 external flight personnel, our pilots, 1,000 flight support, 2,200 starship operations, 5,500 military, combat and support, for a total of 9,000. Our destroyer. The starship is a deep space weapons platform. Its power generation is significantly greater than any other class of craft. It contains more directed energy emitters per square millimeter than any of the other ships in our fleet. It also has a large area on the underside for mounting specialized weapon systems. It also houses a weapons science facility for the design and construction of specialized weapon systems, as well as a defense science facility. The craft is 1 kilometer in length, 1 kilometer in width, 250 meters in height. Like the others, it has a gravido electromagnetic field generator and a long-distance, medium-duration wormhole generator. Its defense is 8 high-density, high-output, multi-beam directed energy emitter arrays, and a specialty weapons alcove and a shielding system. The power is from a zero-point energy pump. The crew is 1,800 starship operations, 250 weapons science, 250 defense science, and 200 security personnel, for a total of 2,500 people. Our ACCV, Atmosphere Capable Combat Vehicle, designed to provide close support for fire missions, either as an augment to targeting systems on our large ships or as a reduced output close fire system. It is fully capable in space or in any atmosphere. Onboard shielding generation systems provide protection under extreme pressure differentials, high velocity impact, and radiation across a broad spectrum. Low frequency RF to gamma. The craft is intended to fly somewhat like an aircraft. We find that aesthetically pleasing. It is 25 meters in length, 25 meters in width, 5.6 meters in height. Its propulsion is a gravido electromagnetic field drive, FTL capable. Defense, 8 reduced output directed energy weapon systems, 4 sensor arrays, shielding. It has a zero-point energy pump for power, and normally a crew of 1. However, sometimes 2 depending on species. Such are the major hardware assets we have near Earth. Within our little fleet, we have 1 command ship, 3 carriers, and 2 destroyers. There are some 36,000 of us within your solar system, and I live on your planet. Some would ask, why have you not been noticed? Quite simply, we have. There are numerous reports of sightings. Of course, you did not realize what you're looking at. There are images of each of our capital ships from your Soho craft. There are further reports of triangle craft. Our dragon strikes are configured to appear this way at night. Daytime reports seem to be a bit more of a craft like the X-47 that your military is working on. There's a good similarity between the two. Although our Dragon Strike is much larger, unlike the X-47, the Dragon Strike can hover. Consider these few examples. Command ship, carrier, destroyer. One has but to look to find many such examples in terrestrial media. Images and videos from SOHO, ISS, and other terrestrial spaceborne assets as well as ground-based systems have recorded us and continue to do so on an almost daily basis. The first non-terrestrials to appear in terrestrial human history traveled from the area of Sirius. Earth is some 8 light years distant, making it close enough for exploration with primitive starships, and Sol is one of only 6 nearby stars. Sirian appearance is much like terrestrial humans. They are one of the species referred to as Nordic. Their biology and genetics is also very much like terrestrials, so much that they can successfully hybridize with terrestrials. The Sirians arrived at Earth some 5 to 8,000 years ago. At that time, their technology was primitive mechanical FTL, with a trip of 8 light years taking several weeks. Atmospheric operations were conducted with chemical-powered, fueled, low-orbit craft. It is upon these Sirians that much of terrestrial myth, legend, and religion is based. The goals of these Sirians was colonization, and colonies were established in 3 regions: India in the Indus Valley, Sumeria, Tigris and Euphrates rivers, and Egypt in the Nile River basin, with later satellites in China, North and Central America. These colonies flourished for some 2,000 years and then began to fall into disarray. As is all too frequent in the case with far-reaching colonies, the colonists grew tired of the lack of autonomy, inadequate and unreliable support and contact with the home world, and inadequate representation at the highest levels of government. The result was civil war, and while it could be argued that the colonists won, the result was the colonies being completely cut off from their homeworld and placed in a sort of siege state for several Syrian generations, about 5,100 years. The final result was the colonies dying out, the Syrian population merging, for the most part, with the indigenous terrestrial human population. Those persistent few, having failed to preserve their culture, consolidated the remaining families and dispersed throughout the world. Evidence of this can be seen in the myths and legends of virtually all terrestrial human cultures right up to the modern day. Many of the stories about these elites colluding with major governments are fundamentally true. The remaining Syrian families have no choice but to attempt to control the terrestrial human population. Government and religion are 2 of the simplest methods to gain and keep the kind of control required. According to intelligence collected from Syrian sources, there are 3 groups of Syrians that are actively involved with Earth. Their stances are: 1. Earth is a Syrian possession and estranged colony. They should be reintegrated. 2. Earth is and has always been a Syrian possession. We should reclaim it. 3. The damage and interference done to Earth by Syrians is inexcusable. We should arrest and prosecute the colonists who have perpetrated this crime against the Earth. We should remove all Syrian influence possible. Realistically, the Syrians and the government of Earth should own up to the violations and move forward. Furthermore, there is not a single living being responsible for this disaster. Therefore, no one to prosecute. Moving forward in full light and knowledge is the best course for the terrestrial human species. The Syrian-Orion alliance, and indeed all of the local non-terrestrial cultures visiting Earth, are under increasing pressure from terrestrial science and technological progress. Terrestrial science has solved the issues with light speed travel, artificial gravity, and can now build primitive gravito-electromagnetic field generators, a very good step to the stars. Zeta Reticuli, actually a pair of stars some 39.5 light years from Earth. These stars are still within the Orion arc, but are perhaps a bit too low to have aging alliances. Reticuli lies within the arc, but is below the horizon. The Zetas are a formerly amphibious species that has evolved the humanoid form. Their domain is relatively small, in that they are the only dominant species, and most of their domain consists of colonies on other worlds. Their technology is some 200 to 500 years more advanced than Earth, though their space technology seems to be little more than somewhat refined mechanical systems. Zeta Reticuli. 39 light years. Fabled gray homeworld. Humanoid indigenous species, low-level true FTL. Off-world contact with many. These are the Greys of lore. Their technology is on par with that of the Orion group. Eta Reticuli, 59.4 light years. Humanoid indigenous species, Gray colony. HIP 19233, 75 light years. Primitive humanoid life, Gray colony. Beta Reticuli, 99.7 light years. Primitive advanced complex life, a Gray colony. The fabled reptilians and their homeworld, Alpha Draconis, is actually too far from Earth for the Draconans to reach given their current state of technology. At 300 light years, simple primitive FTL simply would take too long to be practical. Sadly, Alpha Draconis cannot be their home. But, good news. 26 Draconis is a great world for our lizard-lipped friends to spawn. Draconis lies to the north of the Orion group. Sigma Draconis, 18.8 light years. Insect-based humanoid indigenous species. Low-level true FTL. Off-world contact with many. Chi Draconis, 26 light years. Amphibian-based humanoid indigenous species. Low-level true FTL. Off-world contact with many. 26 Draconis, 26 light years. Reptile-based humanoid indigenous species. Low-level true FTL. Off-world contact with many. These three worlds form the core of the Draconis group. 19 Draconis, 49 light years. Humanoid indigenous species, reptilian colony. Theta Draconis, 68 light years. Humanoid indigenous species, reptilian colony. The Draconans would seem to be a real-world version of the Zindi Empire of recent Star Trek fame. In any case, there is a surprising amount of nearly concurrent evolution in this group of stars. Itarzi od Oma,